LynnSanity podcast. We are a part of the Red and Hook Podcast Network, and here we are just enjoying, once again, another divisional podcast. The NBA is back. The NBA is back. I am more motivated than ever to keep doing my division podcast, and I am delighted to have on the famous small market fan, Devin Voss, for the second time on the LynnSanity podcast. Devin, how we doing?
Howdy, boys. Going pretty well.
I'm sorry, Devin, we don't have a small market team. I'm pushing your limits here and going big market. I'm hoping you can, grow up and understand that there's teams that have big markets.
Yeah, I can do that for you guys.
You can do that? Okay, all right. Well, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. And then, folks, we also have a guy that's been on the podcast a couple of times. I've taken him to school in the last couple of podcasts. Bryce Shadday. Bryce, how we doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Other than that awful joke right there. Voss, I hope you came ready to play, man. Big markets, big talent, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. It's going to be a delightful podcast. We got this great Atlantic division. Plenty of teams to look at, right? You got the New York Knicks. You got the Brooklyn Nets. You got Boston. You got Philly. And you got Toronto. These are some of these teams we're talking about elite of the elite. Some, not so hot. But as we look from the worst team in the division to the best team in the division, we're going to start off with the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks are, a team that has had this historical, really, in general, this historic franchise. But then it's really just not been anything all that good. If I'm going to be honest, they just haven't been that good the last couple of years. They're desperate for talent. Their record indicates right now that they're 21-45. They're not hot. They're worse in the East. And so here we go. We're going to start off with Devin Voss. And Voss, out of curiosity, what are your thoughts on the Knicks here? They're 21-45. I mean, they got Mitchell Robinson. I mean, where do you see them in the Eastern Conference and where they can go?
That's a great question. Yeah, no, I'm not too sure on their direction. As you mentioned, 21-45. They haven't had a winning season since 12-13 when they won like 57 games. They've had 17 win seasons twice now, and they still don't have talent. It's still a drought. Mitchell Robinson's there. He's a great player, no doubt. Julius Randle. I love Julius Randle, but yeah, RJ Barrett hasn't proven himself, I guess you could say, yet. And it's tough to say where this Knicks team's going, where James Dolan's going to take them. The whole Knicks schmeal.
Yeah, no doubt. Bryce, what's your thoughts on the Knicks here overall?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just a hodgepodge of players that they picked up. They missed out on a lot of sweepstakes. I really don't know. I mean, I think Barrett. I believe in RJ Barrett. I think he's got some tangibles that an NBA team would like in a young player like that. Julius Randle, I think, is a good signing. He really brings something to the team. But other than that, not a whole lot going on here. I don't think they have an identity, and until they find an identity, they're going to continue to be at the bottom of the barrel in the East.
I mean, yeah, there's no question about that. I mean, when you look at the New York Knicks, they're not too hot. But wait for a second. All of a sudden, I'm seeing this guy who just hacked into this podcast meeting, Zachary Griffith. Zachary Griffith, you're in the building. As soon as I said the Knicks, you hacked in. You hacked into my meeting. So I guess I got to ask the man who's famous for New York Knicks discussion. What are your thoughts on the New York Knicks?
Beautiful night, isn't it? Beautiful night. Beautiful night in the neighborhood tonight. Yeah, I heard you say Knicks. My sixth sense just kicked in here. What can you say? What can you say about the Knicks? I've got a whole list here of stuff I want to hit, so I'm just gonna start.
Take it away, Griffin. Take it away.
We'll start with James Dolan. Where else can you start? What can you say about Jim Dolan? Full control of the Knicks in 1999. What has he done? What has he done since then? Huh? Here's what he's done. Caleb. No winning seasons or playoffs since 2013. Only has made the playoffs 5 times since 2001. Coaching. He hired Isaiah Thomas. He hired Derek Fisher, who led the Knicks to their worst record ever, 17-65. Larry Brown. He fired Larry Brown. One of the greatest coaches ever. Fired him after 1 season. Lenny Wilkins, one of the greatest coaches ever, made him resign. Mike D'Antoni. Great coach of the year material. Fired him. Mike Woodson. First division title in 20 years. Fired his ass. Fired Marv Albert, voice of the Knicks for years. Fired him because he shit on the Knicks. Didn't like how they were playing, so he fired him. Mistreated Charles Oakley. Knicks legend. Kicked him out of the building. Kicked Spike Lee out of the building. Built teams around Carmelo. Built teams around Stephon Marbury. Paid Eddie Curry. Traded Jamal Crawford for Al Harrington. Straight up. Let David Lee walk. Traded Carmelo when they didn't have to. When he said he was coming there that summer. Traded him. Gave up draft picks. Gave up Gallinari. Allen Houston contract. Need I say more on that? There's a rule called the Allen Houston rule because of that contract. Here's the draft for the Knicks since James Dolan took over. Drafted Nene. Solid player, right? Traded immediately. Channing Frye. All rookie first team. Gone within a year. David Lee. Let him walk. Ronaldo Balkman. Marty Collins. Who is Marty Collins? Who is he? Wilson Chandler. Gallinari. Jordan Hill, who they drafted over DeRozan and Drew Holiday. Iman Shumpert. Tim Hardaway Jr., KP, who I'll get into in a sec. Frankie Smokes. Kevin Knox. RJ Barrett. Knicks first-round draft picks since 2000 right there. David Stern, who runs the league, said the Knicks are, quote, not a model of intelligent management in 2007. And for a year and a half, we had to hear about Kevin Durant and Kyrie are going to the Knicks. Where did they go? They went to New York. I'll give them that.
Went to Brooklyn.
They went to New York. I'll give them that. The coaching search right now. Can you name the Knicks coach right now? Who is the Knicks coach? Off the top of your head, can any of you name the Knicks coach?
Mike Miller. and no, I'm not talking about the sharpshooter Mike Miller.
Right. You're talking about some guy off the street, Mike Miller. Works at Ace Hardware or some shit. Tom Thibodeau, Mark Jackson. Okay, fine. Those are good guys. But, like, you have guys like Kenny Atkinson, Dave Yeager. You already burned the bridge with David Fizdale. And fuck! I'll even say it. David Blatt. Just try something. Just try something. Everything else has failed. Just give David Blatt a call. I don't know. Their roster right now. They're paying Julius Randle $63. They have $114 million combined in Julius Randle, Taj Gibson, and Bobby Portis. $114 million combined in those 3 guys. RJ Barrett, I like him. He's only 19, so I'm not, he's fine. Mitchell Robinson, I like him. And I don't want to hear any shit about Donovan Mitchell coming to the Knicks. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to fucking hear it. And let's revisit the Porzingis trade, shall we?
Go right ahead.
They traded KP and Tim Hardaway. For what? Anybody want to guess?
Dennis Smith Jr.
DeAndre Jordan. Wesley Matthews. and an unprotected first-round pick.
DeAndre and Matthews aren't there anymore.
No, they were on expiring contracts. Dennis Smith Jr. is missing in action. I haven't seen him in a game in years. And let me just say to the fans, yes, I hate your team. I hate them. Probably my most hated team in sports, no question about it. But I feel bad on behalf of every other NBA fan. I just want to say I'm sorry because you have been dragged through the shit for 20 years and there's no end in sight. It's like that scene in Shawshank when Andy's crawling through the shit, except it never ends. It never ends. You don't get out of jail. It never ends. Your only hope is for James Dolan to sell the team. That's your only hope. The only thing you have going for you is you have the best arena in the world. And I just feel bad for him. That's all I got to say.
Wow, folks. You just got an exclusive on the LynnSanity podcast about Zach Griffith's hatred for the New York Knicks. But, I mean, with all due respect, we can't just hate on him, okay? I mean, I needed to give you Griffith hacked in. I didn't know what to do. But I mean, we can't hate on him. I mean, he touched it out. I mean, they have some young guys that are going to be interesting and potentially could develop into some nice players. And so, Bryce, I want to start with you on this. What are your thoughts on really Mitchell Robinson and RJ Barrett, who both seem to be quality players? I mean, I feel like that's a shock for the Knicks when you have to say that it's a shock to just get quality players. But, I mean, the Knicks, it's a shock for me. It's a shock. And RJ Barrett and Mitchell Robinson have been quality, and I think they can be better. Do you agree with me on this?
Yeah, I mean, they both can be better. I'm going to cut RJ Barrett more slack than I would Mitchell Robinson. I mean, Mitchell Robinson, he's only averaging 23 minutes a game, which isn't very much. He's getting you 10 and 7 a game, which is decent, but not enough to make yourself go, wow, this kid is special quite yet. He's got a long way to go in his development. He's shooting 74% from the field. He's going to be your basic center. When you look at guys like a DeAndre Jordan who shoots really high percentages from the field, just around the rim, guy that can finish. Yeah, I think he's good there, but he's got to get more minutes. He's got to earn himself a starting role. And keep a majority of those minutes. RJ Barrett, we said it earlier, he's 19 years old. He's got a long way to go in his development. But I like him. I think he's got an NBA ready body. He's got to put on a little more muscle, but he's got things that can take him to the next level. He's got the tangibles to be something in this league. But I think it starts with having the right coach, having the right ownership, because, again, you don't get these opportunities often. We saw what they did with Porzingis, as Mr. Griffith mentioned earlier. Best player they've had in years, other than Carmelo, which that's debatable too. And they just traded him for what? Absolutely nothing. So I think, with the new general manager, Leon Rose, coming in, former agent, he's going to try to replicate what Bob Myers of the Golden State Warriors did and Rob Pelinka over in LA are doing. So I think they're trying to go in a direction now. I think Leon Rose will get them somewhere, but we'll see.
Yeah, I would say KP was their best draft pick since Patrick Ewing. You can make
that's
case.
A long time. That's a big gap. That's a big gap in years there.
Look, all jokes aside, he was.
Yeah, I would agree.
And they just, incompetence.
Voss, what's your perspective on really, we can get into the young guys, but I think really when you look at the Knicks, I mean, it's a team, it's a roster that's not fit to win in the modern NBA. It's just not. You look at the stats, you look at statistically what this team's doing. They're a top rebounding team in the league, right? But their problem is they're paying guys like Julius Randle ridiculous money. They're paying Taj Gibson ridiculous money. They basically said, okay, we struck out on the two targets we wanted, and we're going to go get a bunch of fives, more or less, and we're going to stack and we're going to rebound and we're going to play like we're in the freaking 70s. Okay, and that's just dumb. I mean, Voss, what's your perspective really on their roster construction? Because, I mean, while they do have these young pieces, they roster construction, I feel like it's just horrible. It's Leon Rose is going to have to fix that.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. As you noted, Taj Gibson and Bobby Portis making up a fat amount of that cap space for the Knicks. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're great players. They're very great players. I really like Julius Randle. He's kind of there's many ways he could improve, but anyways, just the point of, like, kind of as Bryce said, like, what's their identity? I mean, there isn't one. Nobody knows what this team, like, it's just a bunch of guys thrown together. As Zach mentioned, they traded for Dennis Smith, who looked to seem to have a semi-bright future. He just fizzled out. No one knows where the hell he is. Mitchell Robinson, I love this man. I mean, at 23 minutes, this dude is first in shooting percentage, 7th in blocks. Last year he was 2nd, 14th in PER if you take that to any level of circumstance. He's 1st in offensive rating, shockingly, and he's actually 20th in win shares as well. So, I mean, just all things considered, with 23 minutes, that's some pretty impressive numbers.
Yeah, another thing with Mitchell Robinson, they have this pretty good big man, this young big man, and they just bury him on the depth chart with fucking Bobby Portis and Taj Gibson. I mean, what the hell?
You're right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, why at this stage of his career Taj is even, okay, that just shows the incompetence, but regardless, I think that...
I mean, look, we're laughing. We're laughing. I would say outside of the Yankees, the Knicks are the most popular team in New York, which is, by the way, biggest market in the world.
Yeah. And
you suck. You've sucked for 2 decades straight. You haven't been a contender in years. It's inexcusable. All jokes aside, it's fucking inexcusable.
Yeah.
It is embarrassing.
You're the most valuable NBA franchise by a lot, and you have nothing to show for it. So
I mean, yeah, to add on to that, I mean, look, this is a team that still rings in fans. I mean, people are not sitting there like, people want to come in and see New York do well. It's better for the game when the New York Knicks are good. Creates more attention for the league. And the fact of the matter is the New York Knicks have done absolutely nothing to deserve that attention for us. They've not really done anything in terms of the draft because they'll have to trade everybody in like 2 or 3 years. They have to, they're just not – they run like a small market team, and that's just embarrassing. I mean, they're honestly like the Kansas City Royals of the freaking NBA, because the Kansas City Royals are going to have to get rid of every single guy that turns into a star just to get something back, because the organization is having a tough time getting there. And that's the issue for the Knicks, and the Knicks shouldn't be in that situation. And for me, when I look at New York, it's disappointing. And I mean, they've got players, they've promised, but we'll just have to really see where they go with this, and if Leon Rose can strike on somebody, because I think that's really the only way that they're going to have a chance at doing anything.
It's the longest running comedy on TV right now, the New York Knicks.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty not looking too good. Not looking too good. The next team on the division here, though, is we're looking at the team that's doing better than them in the same state in Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Nets. Right, they're 30-34 now. Granted, they took away the top targets of the Knicks in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, which was a shocker. It felt like they were just destined to go to the Knicks, but they ended up going to Brooklyn. But then both of them really didn't play all that much, so they ended up with the 30-34 record. But I'll tell you, I think this team at a 30-34 record should deserve a lot of praise. I'm gonna tell you right now, this is a team that's really fighting, and I respect it. I respect it a lot. I respect the fact that I feel like Kenny Atkinson has been criticized all year long. This is a guy that's continuing to fight. They're a fantastic defensive team with all this. They've got promise. I mean, really, if you just give one of these guys back to them, maybe Kyrie Irving comes back for this team in the postseason in Orlando and potentially could do some damage and maybe, give some teams a challenge. Because when I look at this roster, I don't think it's a bad roster. I think there's pieces, but I think you just wish that the stars were there, because I really think you could argue that in terms of what they're doing, it just doesn't make sense how they're in the playoffs when you have those injuries. But that's credit goes to a couple things, right? Atkinson and the front office. And so, Bryce, I want to start with you again on this. I mean, what's your thoughts on Brooklyn? Because I think when you look at this team, I mean, it's pretty remarkable that they're doing this given what they've gone through this season.
Yeah, I mean, once Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving come back, we're really not sure what Kevin Durant's going to be. But, having those guys out there on the floor automatically makes them a top team in the East, I think, in my opinion. Now, unfortunately, Kenny Atkinson resigned his job. Jacques Vaughn is now the acting head coach. I'm not sure what happened with Kenny Atkinson, but I do feel like he made that engine run well. And they are where they are because of Kenny Atkinson. So it's kind of sad to see him go. He'll definitely get another job in the NBA. Hopefully we'll get a tell-all. Maybe it was Kyrie. Maybe it was KD. Maybe
he got shafted. He got shafted. Absolutely he did. So I think I'm really interested to see what's going to happen from here on out. Maybe they decide not to go with Jacques Vaughn next season. Maybe they bring in like a Mark Jackson. I know that rumor mill has gotten started. Overall, looking at the roster, I think they got some guys that can play. Spencer Dinwiddie steps in really nice when Kyrie Irving is injured, which seems to happen a lot. So having a guy like Dinwiddie is a really good idea to keep him on the roster. And which, by the way, he's going to be a free agent. So I really don't know if they can pay him. I don't think they will be able to, because they decided to pay DeAndre Jordan, which is something that we can talk about a little later. But I mean those contracts are just killers for rosters. When you're trying to win now, Jarrett Allen is doing the exact same thing DeAndre Jordan is, and you're paying Jarrett Allen way less. So if they can cut that DeAndre Jordan contract and maybe put some more towards re-signing Dinwiddie, I think that'll help out a lot. But I think they'll be fun next season. KD's already announced he's not playing. I don't think they're gonna go far with just Kyrie if he does come back to play in Orlando. But a really interesting team, I think.
Devin, I want to ask you this. I think when we look at Brooklyn, this is a team that we're sitting here. Obviously, the talent is there. When you have, the capable top tier talent. But, obviously we know that Durant will not be playing this year. But there is possibly a potential idea that Kyrie Irving could come back. And he could be a legit piece. How valuable do you believe he could be if it is the case where he's going to be able to come back and he's going to be able to play in Orlando? Do you think that the guy is going to dramatically affect things? Or do you think because of what's all gone on, the addition may not really help because you're going to have to figure out the chemistry and all of it, and it could take a really long time? What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I would say that it honestly may not help. I don't see or envision the Nets making any deep run by any means. It'll definitely help. Adding Kyrie to your totals is obviously going to help, but overall, I think that the chemistry issue is going to come up. Earlier in the season, it seemed like the team was rallying fairly well behind him, but regardless, it's going to be tough. I mean, Kyrie's been injured nearly the whole season. That seems to be a reoccurring theme. It really sucks because of how well Kyrie is as a player to not see him on the court. But yeah, I don't see them making much of a deep run. I'm not sure if he'll be able to play at an elite level. I honestly, it's tough for me. I would say just sit it out, but what can you say? Competitors will compete.
I mean, yeah, when you got a team, when you got those stars, I mean, I think they're definitely going to motivate your team. I think they're going to push your team to do great things, you know, even if they're not really the same guy, at least to come right off the gate. But I think really when you break down the Nets, I think there's some things I really like, but there's things that they're going to have to do next season to get to where people think they're going to be. I mean, first off, you're obviously shooting the three. You're fifth in threes attempted in the league, but you're 26th in terms of how much you make them. I mean, that's not good enough. When you got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, you need floor spacing. You're going to need guys that can give you that. And I agree with Bryce. I think that the DeAndre Jordan contract has an interesting effect. I mean, if you look at the salary, you're thinking, the salary is not it's not giant, right? We're not talking double digits, but a contract like $9 million can erase the potential of getting in like two decent shooters, right? Maybe a stretch five and a decent two off the bench. They don't really have anything like that. The money is going to be tight, and so with this team, I mean, when you look at it and you just sit there and you say, okay, picture this team when they're healthy, and picture this team when they're really good. I'll tell you what they can be. They can be an NBA Finals team. That's what I tell you if they're healthy. Okay, but I think when you look at this whole situation, obviously there's a ton of factors to it, right? But when you look at a team that's got KD and Kyrie, you think to yourself, man, they can make a run in the East and potentially get to the finals next year. And so, Griffin, I want you to chime in real quick here on this. If you put money on it right now, the Brooklyn Nets, in their time, I'm giving you 3 years. 3 years, give or take. Do you believe that the Brooklyn Nets can make a finals run with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving being the cornerstones of that franchise?
Within 3 years?
Within the 3 years of their contract, yes. Kevin Durant has got – yeah. Do you think that there's a possibility?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, we know Kyrie can be a second option. We have plenty of proof of that. We just know he can't be a first option, which is fine. A lot of guys can't be a first option. But we know he's a phenomenal second option. We know you can win a title with Kyrie as your second option. So, and I think KD, I don't know if he's going to be 100% next year, but I still think 90% KD is 25 a game. So,
I mean, what he did in the finals, just coming back to the one game, I mean, he could have turned the tide of the game, had he not blown up that Achilles, and probably could have changed the series, honestly.
Yeah, so I think 90% KD is 25 a game. Plus, they got a great supporting cast. I mean, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen. I'm not a fan of the DeAndre contract. I think that was politics right there. But, I don't know if they can win a title, but I could definitely see them getting to the finals for sure.
And real quick, I want Bryce to jump in here in a sec. But the thing I think that's interesting about Brooklyn, I know we talked about contracts. The other contract that I think could have a potentially big factor is Taurean Prince at $13 and $15 a year starting next season. Now, while we can look at him, we can say he's a fine young player. He's 26. He's got talent. That's another big contract. But, Bryce, I want to ask you a very similar thing that I asked Griffin. Where are you with Kevin Durant? And do you think that Kevin Durant is the number one option can possibly get Brooklyn to a run for a championship?
Yeah, I mean, KD's always been a dangerous player, right? But we've also seen him struggle having just with two guys, himself and Russell Westbrook. Now, granted, I think Russell Westbrook's a different player than Kyrie Irving, but Kyrie Irving is still a ball-dominant guard. But Kyrie Irving's more selective with his shots than Russell Westbrook. So I think that's going to play well for Kevin Durant. You surround these two guys with a Joe Harris who can shoot the three ball pretty well. I think he's shooting 41% from three right now, which is good by NBA standards. You can throw in a Karis LeVert. You got a young guy in Jared Allen who's going to run the floor for a big. Yeah, I don't think DeAndre Jordan is the answer there, but I like Kevin Durant. I hope he when he comes back, he's the same Kevin Durant that we've had, because the league is just different without him.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, and I think this when you can get Durant back, even at 90%, as Griffith thinks, I agree. I think he's the number one option. But obviously, it's something to keep an eye on. How much does the injury really affect him? I do think that there's been a lot of points that have been made about it. Durant is not a guy that's going to sit here and dominate by physical stature or, like LeBron James. He's a guy that's going to come in. He's going to shoot a lot. He's going to create space. So I personally think that the injury will not tremendously affect him because I think his skill set doesn't rely on him trying to out-muscle people, but more so create space and take advantage of the size he has. And I really want to see this guy back because he makes the NBA better. This is a guy that we talked about 2 years ago as being the best player in the league. I mean, okay, let's think about it from that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kevin Durant is must-see TV when he's healthy. I think he's the best scorer of my lifetime. I mean, I think that's pretty easy to say. And no disrespect to like Kobe or Harden or, Melo or guys like that, but Kevin Durant puts up 30 like it's nothing. And he does it so effortlessly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I think he's must-see TV, and I absolutely think he's still a first option. No question about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see because I'm telling you, if they can get Durant to be anything close to what he was in Golden State, they're gonna get a number one option and they're gonna make a run in the Eastern Conference without a doubt. And I think it's going to be seriously fun to watch. The next team in this division, though, as shocking as this sounds, is the Philadelphia 76ers at 39-26. Now, if you would have said in the beginning of the season, with the Philadelphia 76ers have finished sixth in the Eastern Conference, I would have said, are you freaking kidding me? Okay, this is a starting five that's got size, that's got everything you want. Okay, but the fact of the matter is they suck. I mean, they suck. I mean, they're six in the East. Okay, and they got a great starting five. If you look at the individual talents, you look at paper, but God bless, they have no chemistry on the floor. Okay, and they got nothing. They got nothing on the floor. And so, I mean, like when you have a team that's got Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, obviously you're thinking great things. But I think the huge problem with this team is the fact that you decided that you needed to pay Al Horford at freaking 34 freaking years old. That's way too much money. I mean, God bless. I mean, Al Horford is getting 28, 27, 27, and 26. I mean, give me a break. I mean, that's
worse than Bismack Biyombo.
It's incredible.
Hey, Bryce, how many movies can you get at Disc Replay with Al Horford's contract?
You could probably buy the store, man.
Yeah, you can probably buy the store. Yeah, you can buy the store. Because the thing with Horford is, this is a guy, even in Basketball Reference, they're using him as cap space. And this is a guy that should be looked at as a player, cornerstone, a guy that would improve them. But instead, I feel like he's demoralized them. He's not helping them in that much ways. And then they decided, you know what? Signing out Horford isn't good enough. How about we pay Tobias Harris $31 million, $33 million, $36 million, $38 million, and $40 million. $180 million guaranteed. Tobias Harris, you're definitely getting your bread. I mean, you basically bankrupted the Sixers, though, on your championship. Congratulations. But I just think with Philly, it's a mess when you look at the front office. It's a complete mess. And, Bryce, I want to know your thoughts here on the way that Philadelphia is. The roster construction, if you look at it on paper, seems to be really good, but it's flat out not working on the court.
Yeah, I mean, Elton Brand took over as the general manager after the big Twitter debacle with his name escapes me right now. USA Basketball. Yes, Colangelo. Yes. Which I think was a big loss for them because, Colangelo's a smart guy. Obviously he made some unwise decisions on Twitter.
Smart guy. Smart guy.
Look, I think he was going to head in the right direction. I know what he got fired for. It happens, okay? Unfortunately, Sam Hinkie's been the martyr. You're right, not to the best of us. But Sam Hinkie's kind of the martyr here. I think, if you kept him around, he had a vision in place. I think you got to let him see out the vision. But Elton Brand, obviously he hasn't made the best moves. He brought in Jimmy Butler. He brought in Tobias Harris for that run. It just so happened Kawhi Leonard is just a machine and he's a buzzsaw and they ran right into it. It happens. But the Horford move, that's a bad move. At 33, 34 years old, you can't pay a guy like that. He's only giving you 12 and 7 a game and he's giving you 31 minutes. 31 minutes for that stat line? No thanks. I understand why he signed Tobias Harris to that big contract. once you know you're going to lose a guy like Jimmy Butler, you got to do something. And Tobias Harris was the next best thing. So I get it. I'm not in love with it. He had to do what he had to do.
Devin, what are your thoughts on this roster? I mean, do you think – I mean, honestly, I think they've been a significant disappointment, considering the fact that they were favorites in the East, every betting thing possible. But when you look at Philly, I mean, what do you think that if they get the right pieces, are they in the top of the line at the East? I mean, do you believe that with the Simmons and Embiid team that they still have that possibility despite the bad contracts?
Honestly, I hate to say this, but no. Even with just Simmons and Embiid, I think that – here's the thing. I love Ben Simmons. He's obviously a great player. 16 a game, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, highly efficient, 2 steals, great defensive player. Literally on paper, he is the exact player you'd want on your team. But then when you actually watch him, it hurts. It hurts because this man will not shoot a jump shot further than 6 feet. And there's no reason why you should, have to rely on going back to the basket all the time. Not all the time, but you get what I'm saying. Regardless, what I'm saying overall is that he is not a shooter. He needs to develop a jump shot before people will actually take him seriously. And sorry, I'm getting a lot of crap from Caleb, but I just
you're right, Devin Voss.
It's honestly truth though, because listen, him and Embiid are 2 different style of players, and putting them together, it's just not working.
Devin, if he played for a small market team, would you feel differently?
Do what? No,
if you played in a small market, would you feel differently?
No, I'm absolutely telling you that Ben Simmons is someone that you want on a team. I'm not disregarding Ben Simmons. I'm saying that he needs to improve his game to be a serious, a legitimate threat. And I think that if he does that, I don't know. But
what's not legit about this guy?
I feel
what's
like
not legit about the guy?
Oh, you want stats? I'll give you stats.
Okay, here's your problem.
33% from 3. But listen to
fire
this.
Department.
Look,
we got
0.
smoke.
Okay, from 0 to 3 feet from the basket, he's 72%. 3 to 10 feet from the basket, he's 37%. 10 to 16 feet from the basket, he's 17%. 16 feet to the three-point line, 0%, Caleb Lynn. Look, when you got Embiid and you got Simmons, 2 guys that make all their baskets around the rim, one of them is going to get in the way of the other. It's just the fact of the matter.
Look, I agree with that. Bryce, why did you take my slang? That's ridiculous. No, but I think when you look at this guy, I can't sit here and defend his shooting. But what I am going to defend on is the fact that Voss is hating his game. I mean, what's there to hate about a guy that's 16, 8, and 8, and is shooting 59% for field, and is arguably a top 10 defender in the league, top 5 defender in the league? You can argue potentially. I mean, what's the problem with that? I'm not going to say – I understand the shooting isn't good. Okay, but why are we consistent? Why are we hating on all aspects of his game? I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you're a franchise and you're Philadelphia 76ers, you're signing that guy. You're paying that guy, and you're gonna say, you know what? He's a cornerstone of my franchise. If I'm a front office, I'm keeping these 2 guys because they're too good. They're too good at players. They're too good at players.
I guarantee – Caleb, I guarantee if you poll Sixers fans, all of them, majority of them would want to keep Embiid over Simmons.
And that's a bad move because Embiid is way too injury prone. That is, you just don't know when he's gonna be shot. And you know what, Simmons, his last injury kind of concerning too.
Right. I mean, the guy came into the league with a broken foot. Look,
and look what he's done. Look what he's done since. And look what he's done since.
He's got Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley call him out on Inside the NBA for him to actually play good. Look, he should be dominating the league. 23-12. I think he can be better than that.
Look, the fact is in a playoff game, I am not trusting Ben Simmons to get me the win. And that's just pure fact. Of all the superstars in the league, I'm not trusting Ben Simmons to win me a game.
No.
Well, guess what?
I agree.
I'm fouling him to shoot foul shots. He's their worst free throw shooter.
Just look, in a must-win situation in a playoff game, do you want Ben Simmons to have the ball?
No, I want Joel Embiid to have the ball. Every time.
I'm just saying, when he doesn't have the ball on offense, Ben Simmons is almost a total non-factor.
Here's the problem, though, that you guys are thinking. Okay, we can sit here all night long, right, and debate this, but here's the issue I really have.
Why don't we?
When Joel Embiid is an elite player like he is, and he acts like he's got to be a diva from the three-point line and doesn't put himself back to the basket majority of the time, that's a concern. He's dominant.
Oh,
so I'm going to argue the same. I'm going to argue the same thing you guys are doing, but do it for Embiid, okay? Because I think Embiid is a dominant low post guy. There's no reason he shouldn't be doing that consistently. There's no reason he shouldn't. And I think with Ben Simmons, I just think you guys need to hold the pen. I just think you guys need to hold it up a little bit. I understand that his shooting is not where it needs to be, but I'm taking this guy all day, every day on my team, and I mean, there's no question he's a guy that you're going to sit there and say he's going to be one of your 2 or 3 best players on your team. I mean, I guess the other question I want to have, because of all of your Ben Simmons slander, that's a bunch of bull crap.
All right.
Where do you rank Ben Simmons in the NBA? I mean, where do you rank him? I mean, where do you rank him?
All NBA third team.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe.
You rank him all NBA third team. That's what you're telling me. You're ranking it all NBA third team. That would be arguably a top 15 player in the league, and you're hating on him like he's top 50.
It's just
No.
It's just where he's at. Look, I don't think Brett Brown is a good coach. I think they need to get rid of him. I think Embiid is shooting. He's averaging 4 attempts from 3 a game. He's shooting 35%, which is better than Ben Simmons, not to mention. Okay, we all know Embiid is a monster on the block. He will dominate anyone.
Yes.
He doesn't back down from anyone.
Yes.
I get it. But Simmons, he does not have a jump shot. That means where's he going to shoot? He's going to shoot near the basket. Guess who else is there? Your big 7-foot, dominant, elite could be a top 5 NBA player center. He's down there. And you're pushing him out to the three-point line where he doesn't have a ton of success, right? And then it takes, like I said earlier, guys from TNT to call him out for him to go and drop 37 on a team. I mean, where's the motivation in that? I mean, look, I would take Embiid over Simmons all day long. He's just better. The only thing that concerns me is the injuries for Embiid. It really concerns me.
Wipe that look off your face, Caleb. Wipe it off. Come on. Look, I don't want to attack Ben Simmons' attitude, but he's always come off to me as a guy who he's like,
he thinks he's the chosen one.
Lose. If we lose, we lose. That's kind of the attitude vibe I'm getting from him.
Maybe I had to do something with dating the Jenner. Which one was it? Which one was it? Was it Kylie?
No.
It was a Jenner. It was
Kendall.
It was Kendall. Yes.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know right there. Hey, ask Tristan Thompson how that went with the Kardashians. Go ahead, ask him.
Look, overall,
They're working on it.
You're right. He dated a Jenner, and then he's able to do 2 All-Stars. You're right. The curse. There's some sort of curse there. I don't know about it, but there's some sort of curse there, even though he's made 2 All-Star games. I think. Look, when it comes to Ben Simmons, I think he's a player that you want to. I mean, I'm all in on this. He's 23. I will take the. I think I agree that the criticism of the shooting is definitely fair, and I'd like to see it rise up. But I just think there needs to, there's more to basketball than shooting. That's all I'm saying. And I think he's elite at a lot of different things. And I just don't think that that's something that you can just get away from. Now, I guess the question I would have for you is, in order for you guys to change your stance on Simmons, what would he need to get to from the three-point line in order for you to say, okay, this guy is a decent shooter? What is that level for you guys? Because I think at the same time, I think he doesn't need to be a great shooter. Right, he just needs to be able to do it with some sort of threat, right? So what does that look like, you guys? Because I think if you do give him that, he's got a chance to really ascend on player rankings in the NBA.
And that's
37, 38%. 37, 38% from 3. But he's got to do better inside the 3-point line, between the block or between the rim and the 3-point line. I think that's the difference, honestly.
I'll cut it. I'll say 33%. That's not spectacular, but it's something
That's what he's shooting now.
Voss, that's what he's shooting now.
Okay, listen. On how many attempts?
It's 0.1. 0.1.
Okay, all right. Then let's back this up. 33% on a respectable amount of attempts. I think that's something that would be at least solid enough to say that, hey, this guy can make a 3 if you leave him open. I think that's all he needs. All I'm saying is that there's no slander or disregard for Ben Simmons. What I'm saying is that if he were to develop a better jump shot, he would be like elite, top 10, probably. And that's all I'm saying is that he could be so much better than what he is right now if he would just freaking work on his jump shot.
Yeah, for me, I'm not even going to say a percentage. I'm just going to say, can you at least develop some kind of reliable corner 3 where the defender actually has to come out on you so we can stretch the floor a little bit for Joel?
Yeah, fair.
Just make it – like right now, these guys aren't even bothering. They couldn't be bothered to defend Ben Simmons on the 3-point line. They could not be fucking bothered to walk 3 feet and put a hand in his face. Yeah. It's not worth their time.
No.
So if you could at least, like, you know, some kind of reliable corner 3 like PJ Tucker has, like even a PJ Tucker level corner 3, can you give me that? And I think if he adds that to his game, he's 20-plus points a game. Easy.
Yeah, I mean, think about Giannis. You know, Giannis had no 3-point game whatsoever. You know, his big thing is you know, he's a big guy that can go right through the paint and dunk on everybody. But now he's got a respectable 3-point shot now. I mean, this year he's shooting 31% from 3, which isn't great, but it's enough to make teams think like, yeah, maybe I should put a hand up in his face. But for Ben Simmons, hey, man, I'm going to drop off. I'll help you out. I'll bump the cutters for you. There's just nothing going on there.
So I guess that's the other thing to look at with Philly. Are they doing a good job of building pieces that can really fit together with these two? And that's what I think. I think that's the other problem. I mean, really, when you look at this team and their rotation, I mean, it's not hot. It's not a lot I'm really liking in the rotation. I mean, sure, you got Ben, you got Embiid, and you obviously got Josh Richardson, but they really are in trouble because they've committed so much money to these top tier guys that they're not going to be able to develop the rest of the team. And I think that's a big deal too, because basketball isn't going to, you're never going to win with just 2 players, right? You obviously want to have a good 5 out there. And I think with Philly, they're just kind of throwing guys. Okay, let's throw Shake Milton out there. Okay, let's throw Mike Scott out there one day. Let's just throw Matisse Thybulle and hope he has a 3-point jump shot. Like, Philly is in a really tough position, I think, in that regard because of the commitments that they've made to these big contracts.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think I like Thybulle and Milton, and they're actually shooting respectably from the 3-point line. Thybulle's shooting 35%, and Shake Milton's shooting 45% from 3. Now, granted, it's unlimited attempts, about 3 attempts per game for these guys, but they're also coming off the bench. So, I mean, you would expect that. I think they need to put more time and effort in developing those 2 guys. I think they can really help. I don't think Josh Richardson's the answer. I don't think Korkmaz is the answer. I don't think Alec Burks is the answer.
Oh, you don't like Josh Richardson?
No, I don't.
What? What's the slander on Josh Richardson?
I just don't. I don't think he's got it. I mean, he's averaging 14 and 3 and 3. I mean, that is just average. He's shooting 33% from 3.
For a fourth option, average. That's pretty good.
That's incredibly average. I'd rather throw a Shake Milton or a Thybulle out there and get these guys some minutes. I mean, and how much is Josh Richardson getting paid right now?
Hey, if my fourth option's getting me 14 and 3, I'm happy with that.
I'm not hating on that contract. Don't hate on that contract right now.
Let me see that.
And it's a Heat contract. So you got to take it with a grain of salt.
So they way overpaid for him, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait. Oh, I got it right here.
I'm
Hold
just
on.
saying, Heat contracts, you got to take them with a grain of salt.
This guy's making $10 million, $11 million a year, and he's giving you that?
But he's a fourth option.
That's a fine
pass.
deal. That's a fine deal. Come on, Bryce. That's slanderous for no reason. That's slanderous for no reason. Come on. I'm sorry, Josh, for this hate. I apologize. I don't. You don't deserve it. You don't
Get
deserve
better.
it. And really,
Get
look,
better.
wow. I think he's doing this. But look, when you look at Philly, I mean, obviously the top of the roster is there, but really it's about filling out the pieces, because this is a team that everybody sat and said potentially be an NBA Finals team, but here we are. They're not finishing that well in the conference. When you finish 6th in the conference, it's not ideal. And I think if you're Philly, you got to think about, okay, how am I going to address the rest of my roster moving forward? The next team in this division, though, is the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics at 43-21, third in the Eastern Conference, are looking good. Zach, you got something to say there?
I just wanted to say something about the Sixers real quick.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Somebody mentioned Sam Hinkie. I can't remember if it was Devin or Bryce, but
Bryce today.
If you're going to fire Sam Hinkie, why don't you fire Brett Brown too? Because now they're stuck with this guy who is a very subpar coach.
He can't figure it out on offense.
I think they had their chance last year to make a run to the finals, and they blew it. They had their chance, and I'm going to say it, they're not a contender. I do not consider them a contender. That word is thrown around so much, doesn't apply to them. You cannot look me in the eye and say, I think the Sixers can win the title this year. No.
Yeah, I don't
certainly not this year. Certainly not this year. Not this year. But I think when you have a core of Simmons and Embiid, 2 top-tier stars, I mean, you're already setting up the top right. It like we said, it really comes down to how they're going to develop the rest of the roster, because they've failed in the draft. I mean, Zaire Smith, I mean, really? I mean, look at what you've hardly seen him on the court. And this is a guy that, they picked kind of high to get him, right? So they're sitting there really trying to find a bang for their buck. And that's a struggle. If you're Philly, like we said, you got to figure out what you're going to do, because you got the players, you got the top of the tier players, but it's going to be tricky to figure out the rest of the roster.
And if they had drafted Tatum at 1 instead of Fultz, they would have never had to trade for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, and look, I mean,
Tobias Harris.
Yeah. I mean, that's the perfect cornerstone. And that's the perfect cornerstone, as we've seen in Boston. I mean, this is a guy that could potentially be a number 1 option, and that just leads me quickly into Boston. And look, they're third in the Eastern Conference. I mean, pretty incredible. They came out. They really just very similar roster. But then, basically signed Kemba Walker and Kyrie went to Brooklyn. So they got the elite point guard, right? So what do we think about Boston? Because here's my personal take. If the season did not, get ended by the coronavirus, okay, like in terms of, the delay of it, I really believe the Boston Celtics could have represented the Eastern Conference in the finals. And I think when you look at this team, I was sold on what they could do versatility-wise. And for me, I think they're going to be a content. They are right there. Brad Stevens is an elite coach, and they got a lot of players that I like and that really fit in well together. And so, Devin, I want to start with you. Where are you at with Boston right now? They're third in the East, and it just seems as if they're only going to get better as a unit.
Yeah, I agree. I think doing the old Kyrie Walker switch out has proven to be very well of a great move. Tatum's made huge strides this year, upping and scoring, rebounding, assists, steals, pretty much every single statistical category. Most notably, Jaylen Brown has improved to greatness after having an absolute awful year last year. He's sitting here, one of the better perimeter defenders in the league. Pretty much he's found his jump shot. He knows how to use his athleticism, shaved his hair. But
not a fan of the new look.
Yeah, I do miss the flat top, but hey,
yeah, it's classic.
Every man's got to shave his hair to hit a different point in life. But and even Gordon Hayward, I mean, their fourth option's averaging 17 points a game on 50.
Now that's a fourth option, not just Josh Richardson.
that's unfair. That's unfair.
Uncalled for.
That's unfair. But for
Uncalled for.
real now, I mean, when your fourth option is averaging 17 a game, and he's even upped his rebounding numbers, and he's even playing respectable defense. I mean, I love where the Celtics are going. The big man dilemma is a little bit worrisome, but hey, who needs a big man when you got? I mean, not who needs it. You need a rebounder, but just in general, when you got those
Bismack Biyombo can rebound.
There it is.
Talk about contracts, Bryce.
Yeah.
All right. We don't need any more business. We don't need any more business. Okay, come on. But
That's the name in the NBA.
It might be, but that's all we can say right now. Okay, when we look at, but I agree with you, Devin. Real quick, to add on your point about bigs, I think they do need that. But I think the problem is going to be they're going to have to figure it out, given the way that they had to sign guys in contracts. Right? You go out, you re-sign Jaylen Brown, which you should do it. Jason Tatum, you re-sign. You should obviously look to do that. You signed Kemba Walker, and Gordon Hayward's on a pretty big deal. So you got, and Smart's also on a big deal. So you got a great core of players, but the problem is they're not centers, right? They're going to have to find a mid-level exception, more or less, which is basically what they did to get Enes Kanter. Enes Kanter doesn't wow me. Enes Kanter's an offensive threat, but the guy is a hideous defender. I mean, he is absolutely no good on that end of the floor. And, the fact of the matter is he's basically been replaced by Daniel Theis, in my opinion, who's been very quality for Boston, but I just don't think he's a starter in an ideal world. I mean, they have pieces that can be backups, but I'm not sure about starting. I mean, Bryce, I almost feel like they kind of could potentially maybe run their team in a similar way to Houston in a sense, because really when you look at their bigs, the bigs aren't all that great, but their five best players are perimeter players. So, I mean, what do you do to address center? I mean, are you just going to try to get more of the Daniel Theises of the world, or are you going to see if you can, look into the mid-level or look a little bit higher and see if you can get somebody? Because they're going to be tight on money.
So we've kind of seen the Celtics team before. During their big 3 years, they had Kendrick Perkins, which you knew you weren't going to get points from him, but you were going to get hard defense and you were going to get rebounding. I see Daniel Theis as that kind of guy. I think you have great guard play. You just need a guy that's going to grab rebounds, get some offensive rebounds and some putbacks and just play hard defense. I don't think that they need to overreach here, because if you overreach, you're not going to be able to keep this core together. You're going to have to give up one of the guys, and it would probably be Brown, but and no, I'd say keep Theis the same. I mean, right now, think about this. So they're fourth in defensive efficiency, and they're fifth in offensive efficiency. I feel like if you do anything, you're going to ruin that. But, that's a testament to Brad Stevens, too, because he can just plug and play guys. It's been rare where you see a guy transition from college ball to the NBA and do really well, especially from a smaller program like a Butler. Sure. The only thing that I would say about Brad Stevens is there are times where I feel like what he does just isn't going to come through at the end of the day. Like, they're still a contender, but do they have it? Does he have it to get his guys to where they need to be? I really don't know. I'd like to think so.
Where's this coming from?
It's just an observation. I mean,
the hometown guy.
Look, I'm all about Indiana guy. Dude, I trashed Cody Zeller last week. Okay? I didn't want to, but I had to. All right. I think he's going to get there, but I just feel like there just might be just a split second or a split decision where, sort of like the Pacers did, not having Roy Hibbert out on the floor against Miami, just something that might go wrong. I hope it doesn't. I like the Celtics. I like where they're going. It's just my opinion.
Bryce, this man got to Game 7 with a rookie as his best player.
Yeah.
Within one game. He had it in his sights.
And where was that game played?
Against LeBron.
Okay.
That might have been the best LeBron we've ever gotten.
Team defense didn't come through at the end of the day. That's my only concern.
Oh my gosh! And you're right. And their best player in Kyrie Irving wasn't able to play. You're right, Bryce. That makes us whatever. That's a load of crap.
I'm just saying, a load of crap, man.
Now, let me say, last season was not on Brad Stevens. It was on Kyrie Irving. Cancer.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
No. I'm not going to give him that. Okay, I do think that's a factor.
Give it to me.
But the fact of the matter, Zach, is this is a team that has stated they all thought that they were really good, and they all thought that they were all-stars. The way that run came together made them feel and have high egos for themselves, which is understandable. Terry Rozier was playing very well at the time. Jaylen Brown's playing well at the time. Every one of the young players were playing well. Okay, but then you add Kyrie and you add Hayward, and it's tough for these younger guys to say, man, all of a sudden I'm going from 30 minutes and I'm getting down to like 20. That's a big difference. So I think it's a combination. It's not just on that. I think it's a combination of things. It just didn't seem to work out, and that's hard for any team. I think there's a lot of slander in that, and I flat out don't understand it because I think the way that – why? Because they had all this young talent that was playing well, and it's not just on. You got to be able to take that and say, okay, I'm gonna diminish myself and diminish my role a little bit here so that I can get to a championship. And I don't think they did that. Now, would I take Kemba over Kyrie for this team? Yes, 100%. I would. I know he's better for the locker room. But all I'm saying is I just don't think I don't think the whole reason that they weren't able to do it well and weren't able to work well together was just on Kyrie. I think that's a load of crap. I think that's a load of crap.
They let him walk, and they were better off. They're far better off without him.
Bryce?
Look, I just want to say, like, it's been a big difference. I mean, so when you think about Brad Stevens, we're thinking team ball, right?
Absolutely.
Kyrie Irving took a lot of shots. He averaged a lot of points.
Kyrie does not subscribe to that magazine, Team Ball.
Yeah, I noticed. Well, guess what? Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Gordon Hayward do. Listen to these.
Yes, they do.
Kemba Walker is shooting 42% on 16 shots a game. Jason Tatum shooting 45% on 19 shots a game. Jaylen Brown is shooting 49% on 15 shots a game. And Gordon Hayward is shooting 50% on 13 shots a game. And that's the order that I think it should be. I should have flip-flopped Tatum and Walker. But that's exactly how it should be.
Sure,
and they're all shooting high percentages. They're all averaging Kemba Walker's averaging 4 boards a game. Jason Tatum 7, Jaylen Brown 6, Gordon Hayward 6. I mean, you're getting great offense from these guys, and I do think it's going to take them over the top. I hope they can make the finals. Milwaukee and Toronto are going to be a tough out. And I think that's where seeding is really going to matter, especially once we get to Orlando. It's going to be kind of weird, but I think it's going to be really interesting.
So I guess this leads me to, if you guys have been listening to this podcast, I just introduced a segment recently doing a start, bench, and cut. And I want to do a couple start, bench, and cuts, but I want to do a start, bench, or cut with Boston because I think this is an interesting team to do it in.
Not the Knicks?
Now, potentially, we sit there and we say, all right, Tatum's the lock and load guy. We'd all do that. So I didn't want to put him in there, but I do want to put these 3 guys in there and see what your thoughts are. Would you start, bench, or cut? Gordon Hayward, Marcus Smart, or Jaylen Brown? Start, bench, cut.
I'm going last.
All right. I would start Brown.
Okay.
I would bench. I'd bench. Oh God.
That's tough. I know.
I'd take Hayward only because, and I would cut Smart. And I say this only. I would say this only because Jaylen Brown's going to give you that perimeter game, that perimeter defensive game. So I will take his defensive presence and then Hayward's offensive presence.
The only argument I'd have for that, Voss, is I'm going to question the reason why you picked Brown. When you're looking at perimeter defense, you could argue Smart is the best perimeter defender out of those 3 guys.
You're right. But offensively, I'm taking Jaylen Brown.
Okay. All right. That's fair. That's the first one. Griffith, I want you to go next year. Start bench or cut. Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, or Marcus Smart.
Well, I'll go with Devin and start Jaylen Brown.
Okay.
I'm going to bench Marcus Smart. I'm going to cut Gordon Hayward.
Your explanation for this decision for start bench cut?
Because Jaylen Brown can do it on both ends. I love Jaylen Brown. I would kill to have that guy in the Pacers.
Trade him for Turner. Trade him for Miles.
Oh, my God. Jesus, yeah.
Give him the pen, ladies and gents. Give him the pen.
I'd like to point out that they did have the potential of getting Jaylen Brown at one point.
When?
But they never did it. They never did it. It was before Sabonis emerged. It would have been a year ago. They were looking at, according to reports by Zach Lowe, the potential idea of Jaylen Brown for the Monis Sabonis because Voss was looking for a big at the time. Just want to point that out there. There was potential, Griffith.
Well,
there was potential. You could have
given him the other big. Give him the other big.
Yeah, right. All right. Okay.
And then Marcus Smart, that dude is like the soul of the team. No way they could have let him walk. There's no way.
Yeah.
He's been there the whole time. Brad's been the coach, I think, except 1 year. So,
right.
I like Marcus Smart. More so on the defensive end. I mean, borderline all defense. He's borderline all defense.
But in your defense,
team too.
Say that again, Bryce.
All flop team. He said he's just being a wise ass. Marcus Smart.
but honestly though,
you respect Marcus Smart in Boston.
Honestly though, Zach, like when you really look at Smart's offensive numbers, they are pretty solid. Like I don't think they're like what they've been in years past.
Nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, they're still very efficient. So I don't think that's crazy. So I got no issue. No issue with saying he's a solid offensive player because I think
Marcus
really
Smart is your backup point guard. That's pretty fucking good.
Oh yeah. Bryce, what's yours? Start, bench, or cut?
So I'm gonna go the same with Zach. I think that Marcus Smart is a Boston guy. Like he embodies that team. He embodies the city.
Yeah.
Gordon Hayward was a signing that Brad Stevens wanted. It's the Butler connection, which I think is kind of lame. I would have liked to see Gordon Hayward go somewhere else. It was just unfortunate, Gordon Hayward had some injuries that were.
What did Butler do to you? What did Butler do?
Nothing.
To you,
Nothing. They didn't do anything to me. I didn't like it. It was just like nothing. But look at what happened. You're paying Gordon Hayward so much money, and he's your fourth option now. Why did you need to make that move at the time?
Right, but that would not have been the case if he didn't break his ankle.
Exactly right.
He was the second option at the time of Isaiah.
Exactly right.
And so you paid a guy to go be your second option like that?
Yes.
No.
Gordon Hayward.
Yes.
Isaiah Thomas and Al Horford. Yes.
That's a load of crap, Bryce. Load of crap. The Gordon Hayward slander is just ridiculous. He doesn't deserve any of this. Unfortunately,
he should have went to the Pacers. That might be where my hate is rooted.
Shut up.
That's probably where my hate is rooted.
I don't need your bias, okay? I really don't. I don't need your bias right now.
What about my bias?
Devin, back me up, you small market warrior.
I mean,
what about my bias? I agree with Bryce.
Okay, but here's your thing, Zach. You like storytelling, and the fact of the matter is, it's good storytelling that Gordon Hayward went to go play.
What's good about it?
Basketball. He went to go play with this college guy.
That's
who he
cute.
developed and
That's adorable.
with his career.
That's so adorable.
It's a good story.
He almost won a college title, and he went to team up with his old coach to win an NBA title.
Get a room.
It's a good story.
Oh!
Good story. Wow, Bryce.
I'll gladly get a room at the Hampton Inn with good storytelling.
Wow.
Gladly.
Wow.
Gladly. We'll have a nice night. Have a nice night at the bar. And we're gonna something might come out of it.
You have a good evening. You can watch the sunset.
Yeah. Look, I don't have a problem with Gordon Hayward. I didn't when I said cut him. When I said cut him, there was no disrespect.
Right.
I think he has adapted so well after his injury.
Yes, he has. Yes,
I mean that guy. And what did he do? Break his hand this year? And he came back.
Yeah, broke his hand.
Well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That ankle injury was ugly, man.
Oh yeah, it was.
That was the ugliest thing I've seen since Paul George.
His ankle got filleted. I mean, that was
bad. First game.
It was horrible. I mean, I was watching the game live. I saw it, and I was like, gosh dang it. Because, I mean, you want to see players like that succeed. And obviously, you know, from seeing him grow in our state, in Indiana, you know, we wanted to see this guy ascend. And we're still seeing a very good player, but you definitely wonder, no ankle injury, how good he could be. But,
I think they would have gone to the finals that year.
Potentially.
That was the year that shitty Cavs team got to the finals.
Yeah, potentially.
I think so.
Potentially. Yeah. I no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I think for me, though, I think for a start bench or cut, look, I gotta go Jaylen Brown. Like what all of you guys are saying. I think I'm a big fan, man. I'm a big fan. He's 23. He's only going to get better. I think an all-star appearance is coming his way next season. I got Marcus Smart. I got a bench. He's too good on the defensive end, and he just knows his role, and I just respect that. And Gordon Hayward, I really like him. I don't mean it as a diss. I just feel like all of you guys mentioned it. Marcus Smart's the soul of the team, and I gotta respect that. I do. The
Devin
next
can't
team
handle the big markets. The big markets.
He's struggling. He's struggling. That's for sure. But as we move on, we got the Toronto Raptors in this division. Look, they're first in the division. They were second in the East. I mean, you want to talk about just how in the world are they doing this? I mean, it's honestly insane. You lose Kawhi Leonard, and it doesn't really feel like you're losing a beat. I mean, when you watch this team on the court, it's like, wow. It's just insane to think about. And the credit has to go to Pascal Siakam and his development. And you got a lot of players that they've nailed, such as Terrence Davis, Chris Boucher. You know, they've got guys that have really filled in and stepped in great roles for them. And Masai Ujiri has continued to do it over and over again. Nail the draft on late picks. And when you look at Toronto, you got to sit there and say, overall, you could potentially argue they're now in the top tier in organizations in the NBA based off of what they're doing right now as coaching in the front office. And I don't know if you could have said that 6 to 7 years ago. I don't know if you could have said it. So, Bryce, what are your thoughts on the Raptors here? They're second in the East, and, you know, it's pretty remarkable what they're doing. And I think, you know, for them to be where they're at the top of the East, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason where they are is because of defense. They're doing it on the defensive side of the ball. They're second in defensive efficiency. Yeah. You know, Nick Nurse was kind of an unknown name to us at the time. He just came in and he did the dang thing. Right? Yeah, but I respect him for it. You know, where's this guy been? You know, he's a great coach, I think. You know, the emergence of Siakam has been incredible. He's averaging 24 points a game. He's getting you 8 boards a game, shooting 46% overall. It's been remarkable what he's been able to do. But what I'm interested in with Siakam is if he can keep this up, right? I like him. I just don't know if this is going to be consistent. It'll be interesting to see. But I like the roster overall. I think, like to your point, Ujiri has done a great job. I love Chris Boucher. You know, another guy that doesn't get talked about enough, Norman Powell. He's been been in the league 4 years now. He's been an incredible guy. Just a nice glue guy coming off the bench. He gets you 16 a game. You can't ask for anything better out of a guy like that. And he plays defense. So I like them. They are somewhat young with some veterans mixed in with Marc Gasol, who's 35, Serge Ibaka, who's 30 years old, Kyle Lowry, who's 33. So I like it. You know, they're eventually going to have to move some of these older guys out and put some of these younger guys out on their own. You know, Fred VanVleet's going to be a great fill-in for Lowry. Boucher at the 4 spot. Not quite sure what they're going to do at the 5 spot. But I think they got a good base here.
But, Bryce, that's the beauty of the roster construction right now, you know, because the thing is, Gasol, he's a free agent. Serge, he's a free agent. Lowry only has 1 more year after this that you've signed him. And there's going to be teams out there that are going to sit there and say, on a 1-year contract, am I willing to get Kyle Lowry to push me up in tiers in the NBA? And I'm going to tell you, there's going to be teams that are willing to do that. And for Toronto, they need to be open to that, like you said, because of Fred VanVleet. So really, they they are moving they are moving on. They are starting to get that development, and you're already seeing it, and you're just seeing basically a guy like Gasol, a guy like Ibaka be there to be stable right now. But the guys are coming in. It's tremendous. It's tremendous. And when you look at Toronto, it's nothing but love there. So, Voss, what's your perspective on the Raptors here?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything Bryce said. I love them. I love what Masai's been able to do. What an incredible job from Nick Nurse. I mean, people try to slander him, say, "Oh, you just had Kawhi." Look what he did this year, man. Look what he's done. They got an exciting up-and-coming roster. As Caleb mentioned, I mean, you got a bunch of just guys they picked out of nowhere. Like, none of these are household names. Like, I didn't, before they became stars, I didn't know who Pascal Siakam was, Norman Powell, OG Anunoby. If you followed, if you vigorously followed college basketball, I'm sure you would. But
Sure.
this is like people that you just don't hear, and the fact that they're able to get that production from these guys and develop them, and they got a hell of a trainer, a hell of a staff, a hell of an organization, and there's nothing more you could ask for. I think they're well set for the future.
Yeah.
I think Spicy P is a great building block. I'm not sure, like Bryce said, can he keep it up? We'll see. Everything looks great from our perspective now, but I really like this roster construction. I think overall it's going to be a great team for years to come. They play together, and they're kind of one of those teams that kind of give you like a reminiscence of like 04 Pistons type deal. You get one really good player and then a whole bunch of really good guys.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Griffith, you want to chime in on anything with the Raptors?
Well, this report just came across my desk. Some breaking news here. Masai Ujiri is in fact not going to the Knicks. In fact, it says here he never even crossed his mind.
Oh, you heard
Never
it
even
here
crossed
first.
his mind.
You heard it here first, folks.
It says here he saw the report and laughed and had a drink.
Wow.
But Nick Nurse, I think he's coach of the year. I think he's coach of the year. I don't think it's close. I don't think it's close.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
What leads you into that direction?
What leads me in that direction? You lost maybe the best player in the NBA, and you didn't miss a beat. They're a contender. I think they're a contender.
Yes.
I think if the Toronto Raptors won the title this year, wouldn't be surprised. Because we know Pascal Siakam can be a very important guy on a title team.
Wow.
And
So if you don't mind me asking, Griffith, is Pascal Siakam a number one option in this league?
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
he is. Yep.
Wow, Griffith. Wow. I mean, look, I think Siakam can. I'm not sure he is right, like at this moment, right? But I think it's interesting that you're going there right now. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
I think they can take Milwaukee.
On the pot.
I think they can take Milwaukee. I think he causes a lot of problems for Giannis. Pascal does. Plus, they got guys like OG and Ibaka to throw at him. So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
If they can get past, the only team I'm worried about them getting past is Miami. I don't like some of those matchups, but if they get past Miami, man, they get to the finals. I can see it.
Wow.
But yeah, Nick Nurse, coach of the year. No question in my mind.
Coach of the year. Wow.
Yeah.
Coach of the year.
Like, who else? Who else? Who else? Can you name me a guy?
Bryce, Voss?
Frank Vogel?
I back
maybe Brad?
back here. I mean, the only other two contenders are Frank Vogel and Mike Budenholzer.
And they're not going to give it to a LeBron coach. They're just not.
What about Brad Stevens?
Maybe.
Not as impressive as what Nick Nurse has done, though.
All right. This Raptors team kind of gives me like a grit and grind-esque like feel. Like the Grizzly teams, mixed in. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like they just. I don't know. You just get a weird vibe, like they're just about to lock you up. Like you're not scoring.
I'm telling you, man.
We're just gonna get buckets here and there. You know who'd be a great pairing with Siakam though?
Who's that?
Give it to me. Oh gosh! Wow. Keep dropping it.
Get him back. Drake loves him. He's Drake's fan favorite.
Wow. Yeah, you keep dropping. You keep dropping him in. I mean, look, with Toronto, I think they're very talented. There's no doubt about it. I just think it's going to be interesting. I think Siakam has an ability to be, but I'm not sure he is right now as a number one option. But I think when you look at him, you're obviously seeing a guy that's just ascending more and more. I mean, he's 26, so he's definitely got some years of prime level statistics. So I think when you look at it's not out of this world, but I think right now that's an interesting take because when you look at Toronto, there's, I think they really do need Pascal to be that number one guy if they're going to get past the teams that we're looking at them having to get past. And I don't know how that'll look yet. I don't know how that'll look. And I'm worried about, okay, they have all this depth, but can they come in ready to play in the big playoff moments? I think that's a semi-issue there. I think that's a little bit when you got some guys that really haven't done that in Terrence Davis and Chris Boucher. And I think you would have a guy like OG play a little bit more. I think you would need Van Vliet to give you even more than he did last season. And Van Vliet was remarkable in the finals. And I think you got to he would have to have a better postseason than I think he did last season for them to get there. But I don't think it's out of the world that you're saying that. And so I guess that leads me into the next point is when you look at this team, where do you go, right? You have Kyle Lowry on it. You're going to, after this season, you're going to have Kyle Lowry on this one-year deal. You got a guy in Van Vliet who's a free agent next season. So I guess my question would be, you have a lot of guys you can re-sign, but you also have a lot of guys you could trade, and you can potentially get some things back. So what do you do if you're Toronto? Are you taking advantage of the window you have now and trying to keep what you got? Or are you going to move around pieces so that you can, start thinking about, okay, doing well now, but I'm also wanting my future to still be intact and very strong. And I want Voss to start off on that question.
Okay. Yeah, you bring up some good points. The Kyle Lowry situation, I mean, Fred VanVleet's basically just sitting there point guard and waiting at this point. What he's done this year is just tremendous. I mean, the improvements he's had is just honestly mind-blowing. I mean, I know it's came with an increased minute load, but regardless, sure. It's still very impressive. But as far as where they go forward, it really hinders on some of the development of these players. I mean, how far of a ceiling does Fred VanVleet have? How high of a ceiling does someone like OG have? I can't ever say his last name.
Anunoby. He's got.
No, I agree. And it's a bunch of decisions that the front office is ultimately going to make. But if we're talking about Masai here, I trust him. I think he's going to make the right moves regardless. And if you're a Toronto Raptors fan, you're sitting pretty well right now, knowing you got a young roster, and you could even move pieces to get somebody to accompany Pascal. So I'm pretty happy with where everything's at if I'm a Raptors fan.
Bryce?
Yeah, I think you got to let the two bigs walk. The Kyle Lowry situation is interesting. If you get an offer that you think is an offer you can't refuse, I think you go ahead and do it. Van Vliet is averaging one less point and one less assist than Kyle Lowry. I mean, he's giving you the same thing. Why not get a young guy or, a first-round pick for him? You know what I mean? So, I mean, to Voss's point, I think they're sitting pretty. Fans are sitting pretty. Masai Ujiri has a great basketball mind, a great business mind.
Exactly why he's not going to the Knicks.
And again with the Knicks stabbing.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I mean, it's been remarkable what to do. I mean, I think they struck lightning in a bottle with Nick Nurse. I think that was a little unexpected. You know, they just kind of gave him the job and says, let's try him out. Yeah, that could have went either way, right? You never know.
Yeah.
I think for the right deal, you move Kyle Lowry. I wouldn't be upset with it.
I'd do it in 5 seconds. I'd move Kyle Lowry in the offseason ASAP. Because I think you got it. I think Van Vliet's done nothing but ball for you, and I think he deserves to be paid by the Raptors franchise. He's stepped up in every way. The man's 26, and I think if you can potentially move Lowry, and I think that's the other thing to really get into with Kyle is who's a trade target? If who is in the services for Kyle Lowry at this moment? I have a team that I think could be interesting, but I'm kind of curious to see where you guys are on who's a fit for Kyle Lowry potentially if they're going to move on from him next season.
For a contender?
Anybody. I mean, a team you think makes sense for Kyle Lowry to go on and makes sense for Toronto to potentially make a deal in. My team, what I would do is I would say the Miami Heat.
Wow.
I would say the Miami Heat. Now,
really?
I think that the tricky part about it is I know they want to have and save some cap space. I understand that, but when I look at it, I just think there's a lot to like, and I think the trade package could make sense. I mean, I'm getting an all-star. I'm getting a guy that's going to fit into that Miami culture. Are you kidding me? A dog on the defensive end. A guy that's about the team. You know, he's a guy that can really change your locker room. He's a guy that I think can get bought into the Miami mentality. I don't know. I think that's an interesting team, but I'm curious who else could be of interest for Kyle Lowry services.
Utah.
I think
that was my first thought was Utah Jazz.
Kyle Lowry for Mike Conley straight up.
There's no way they do that.
And then throw in a draft pick.
I would be reluctant on
throw me 2 or 3.
First round draft pick and Mike Conley, the contracts are virtually the same. They're both hideous. Mike Conley's a little more so.
A lot more so.
A lot more so because you got to think about it from the perspective of if he can't even get healthy. I mean,
they don't know what his role is for the Jazz. They don't know what his role is. I think with Kyle Lowry, you know what his role is right away. You know what it is right away.
Fair. I think so. Utah, Miami, anybody else here?
You know what I think would be interesting? And stay with me for a second. Milwaukee might be interesting.
Well, if you can get Bledsoe out of there, you gotta jump on that shit. You gotta jump on that.
Right.
Eric Bledsoe cannot play in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's my reason.
Don't give me that, Caleb. Don't give me that. Name one notable Eric Bledsoe playoff moment. You can't do it.
Here. Oh, yeah. Okay. So here, you want a point guard that averages 15 and 5 assists?
On a pretty solid contract.
Oh, come on.
It is.
Eric Bledsoe?
Solid. It is solid.
See.
It is solid.
Eric Bledsoe?
What is it?
Eric Bledsoe doesn't dramatically concern me. He's around $15 million a year.
He's making $18 million.
That's not a bad contract.
He was a massive reason they lost to Toronto.
Come on, he was a factor, but I'm not going to sit here and say he
was a factor.
He's a factor, but
how big of a factor was he in that loss?
Not the only factor. I'll say that.
Significant.
I'll say that, and I like the deal.
Oh, here
I would take that deal. I'd take that deal. And the other argument I would have is, where's Kyle Lowry's playoff moments?
He won a title.
You're going to call me stop it.
He was the second best player on the title team.
No, I wouldn't. Come on. Statistically speaking, he was inconsistent. He was inconsistent. Kyle Lowry was inconsistent on those postseason teams.
I'm not kidding me.
I don't. Come on.
I thought we were done with Kyle Lowry slander. I thought a championship ring absolves that.
All I'm saying is, at this, you can. I think it definitely helps you, but I just
It's an
think
upgrade.
there was a lot that he benefited from. That's all I'm saying.
Dude, listen.
It's an upgrade.
Okay, listen to this. So Eric Bledsoe, in 2 seasons with Milwaukee in the playoffs, he's averaged 13.6 a game and 4 assists, shooting 26% from 3.
That's pretty terrible. I'm not gonna lie.
And they still signed him to an extension.
And he's you want to know how much they're going to pay Mr. Bledsoe next season?
Go ahead, give it to me.
$16.8 million.
I don't think that's a bad contract.
For 14 points in the playoffs.
You know what Eric
Gives you
Bledsoe
good
is?
defense. What?
You know what he is? He's a
Say
good
it.
bad team guy. That's what he is. That's what he's always been. He was perfect in Phoenix. Perfect. They sucked, and he was a great fantasy player.
You could argue that. No, I think you can argue that. I think you can argue good stats, bad play. I think you could argue that. All I'm saying is if I'm Toronto and I'm making that move, I would do that because I think it'd be interesting to see if you could get Bledsoe, a guy that's on not a terrible contract, but he gives you the luxury of being able to, sign some other guys, and you're still getting a quality point guard. That's all I'm saying. I think there's logic there. That's all.
Here's just one interesting one to think about. The Orlando Magic.
Ah.
And then, of course, you got to group in the LA Lakers and Clippers.
Why, of course?
Because they lack a solid point guard.
Can I ask you this though?
I'll give you the Lakers. We'll give you the
What's
Lakers.
the package? I don't think the Lakers can. I don't think the Lakers can offer the ammo.
No. I know that.
Okay.
I was just saying in a fit wise.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, but in reality, I mean, the Orlando Magic. I mean, they could get somebody to kind of be a veteran mentor for Markelle Fultz. And honestly, the Raptors could get something pretty well in return.
I think you'd have to trade. I think you'd have to trade Fultz. I think you'd have to trade Fultz. You got to give me some point guard.
No, Aaron Gordon.
I feel like Aaron Gordon and Pascal Siakam are kind of fighting positions.
I wouldn't trade Aaron Gordon for. I'm not an Aaron Gordon fan, but I'm not trading him for Kyle Lowry.
What about Mo Bamba or Vucevic?
Whoa! I can't get rid of Vucevic.
No way.
You can't get rid of Vucevic.
I feel like Orlando.
Mo Bamba, no problem.
I feel like Orlando's always disrespected Vucevic one way or another, and that really pisses me off. I don't know why.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I do, and we mentioned that on the pod last week with Vucevic. I mean, he is an underrated guy. There's no question about it. And Orlando really, I feel like, has been taking him for granted. But I think that'll be very difficult for Orlando to be willing to give up Nikola Vucevic. Now, I think the other argument you could make is you could make it a little bit of a bigger deal. Right, you could I think a Jonathan. Really, any team could use a Jonathan Isaac. I don't give a rip who you are. You can use guys that have that length, that defensive versatility. You could potentially see him in a trade as I don't know. You could look a lot of ways, but I think really with Kyle, I think the key would be who's the trade target, what would make sense, because I think Fred VanVleet has shown you he can be a starting point guard in the league. Now I don't know if he's going to be as good as Kyle Lowry was. But I think he's shown you he's a quality guard, and I think if you're Toronto, you gotta like what you're seeing. You just do.
Here's a team for you.
Hit it.
Here's a team: the Dallas Mavericks.
Thought about it.
I think Doncic needs to have the ball in his hand, though.
I would agree.
No, yeah, I agree. But we know Lowry can play off the ball.
I don't love that.
But I think the tricky part is where I agree. I think it's a tough trade package to sell. In terms of, I mean. Say I get Jalen Brunson, I got to find a way to even out the say. I don't know. There's a lot there I don't like. I see. I think it'll be tricky to get. I think that's tricky.
Denver.
Maybe you could swing and deal the Phoenix Suns since they've shown they.
Oh, God bless. God
They need
bless.
all
All
the
right,
help
all
they
right. We're looking all over the place now. All we're saying though is Kyle Lowry's a good player. That's the summary of what we're saying.
Yes.
And the question's going to have to be, where do they go? Where do they go with it from there? Because there's a lot to look into. But here we are. We've wrapped up it, and we got to do our last segment. The last segment that we've been introducing is our all division starting lineup. But the kicker is, I'm going to add something else with it. I'm going to do a bonus edition of Start, Bench, or Cut. I'm going to do a bonus edition. So I'm going to start with the bonus edition of Start, Bench, or Cut. Now, the key with Start, Bench, or Cut is this Start, Bench, and Cut is not on the same team. It's across the division. Okay? It's across the division. All right? So I'm going to start off with this Start, Bench, or Cut. Start, Bench, or Cut. Jason Tatum. Pascal Siakam. Ben Simmons. Start, Bench, Cut.
Oh, easy. Softball, Caleb. Softball. Start Tatum, bench Siakam, cut Simmons. Softball. Easy. Back me up, fellas.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I might have to agree there.
Wow.
Softball.
Wow.
I'm taking Zach's take as well.
Wow. Softball?
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take
Out of the
shooting
park.
I cannot
all
believe
day.
we are getting this slander on Ben Simmons. I really can't.
Look,
I honestly.
Dude, look, all three of them play defense. Simmons cannot give you anything offensively. That's it.
Spicy P showed up in the playoffs and finals.
Yes.
Jason Tatum showed up in the playoffs completely in his rookie year. And then Ben Simmons, where'd he go? 0 points against the Nets? Or the Nets? Who was it?
Yeah. It didn't look all that good. But I mean, let us know. Let us know on the Running Hook podcast. Let us know at the Running Hook Network and at Caleb Lynn 1. Let us know what do you think? Start, bench, or cut between those three guys, because I think I there's a lot of Ben Simmons slander in this podcast, and
I've got one.
I think it's a little ridiculous. Give it to me.
We got a start, bench, cut.
Oh, hey, okay.
Yeah, here we go.
With
If you don't
start, bench,
mind.
cut in this division. Go ahead.
Tatum, Siakam, Embiid. Start, bench, cut.
Man.
Oh wait, I got it.
Huh? Caleb?
Start Embiid.
Okay.
Start Embiid. Bench Tatum. Cut Siakam.
Wow.
That's fair. I'll take that too.
I'm the opposite. I'm cutting Embiid. I'm starting Tatum, and I'm benching Siakam.
Wow. I'm starting Tatum, benching Embiid, cutting Siakam.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Look,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot there. You can obviously, there's a lot to think about. The only reason I have Embiid as a cut is just because of his injuries. That's it. I just want to make sure I'm getting players that are staying on the court. That's for me. That's all that comes down to.
Are those the three best players in the division right now? Healthy?
That are healthy.
Yeah,
I'm about to say, if you look at it from an overall perspective, I mean, come on. I mean, Kevin Durant's got to be in that top three when it's overall. But I mean, probably right now, yeah, you can make an argument. I'm a Ben Simmons guy, though, and I would sit here and very much challenge that Ben Simmons deserves in the top three, though. That's all I'm saying.
How do you sleep at night?
That's all I'm saying. You guys are ridiculously slandering Ben Simmons. I can't.
The sound of Bryce just puts him.
I'm sorry for this. I really am. I'm sorry. But as we conclude, we'll do our all division teams like normal. The key is obviously we want to keep it more to a realistic starting lineup. We don't want to mess with it and basically cheat the system. But all division starting lineup, 1 point guard, 1 shooting guard, 1 small forward, 1 power forward and center. I think there's some guys you can kind of make as hybrids if you want to do that. But obviously, let's not go crazy with it. All right, come on, let's keep it traditional. And to start off, I want Zach Griffith's take. Where do you go? What is your starting lineup in the Atlantic division.
So I made 2. One when healthy and one for current.
Okay.
So I'll do my healthy one first. Come
on.
Ben Simmons. Yeah, that's right, Caleb. Ben Simmons.
Okay.
Ben Simmons.
Okay.
Jason Tatum.
Okay.
Kevin Durant. Pascal Siakam. Joel Embiid. That's my 5 when healthy.
Okay. Bryce.
Yep.
So I went point guard. I went with Kyle Lowry. At the 2 spot. Now I just went off their original positions that were listed. I put Jaylen Brown at shooting guard. I guess you could put Jason Tatum there if you're going to count him as a 2 guard.
I don't. Zach kind of cheated.
KD. Okay.
Fuck the system.
All right, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Bryce, come on.
So I got so I went Lowry, Brown, Durant, Siakam, and Embiid. Yeah, I did.
No, I understand. I understand that. Now look, Kyle Lowry, all division point guard fee?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
I debated Kyrie, but I just struggle, man. I just struggle with Kyrie. I like him a lot. I just struggle. I struggled with Simmons? That too. Stop with the Ben Simmons stuff.
Dang!
He can't.
You're slanderous.
He gives me no offensive stuff.
Wow.
Fine.
What about Daniel Tice?
Okay.
Oh, stop.
All right. Okay. Come on.
Joel Embiid is an elite center. No, stop with that.
I don't need that. I don't need that, Griffin. Voss, what's your starting 5? Draft it up. Come on.
What about DeAndre Jordan?
I'm taking Ben Simmons, Jaylen Brown, Kevin Durant, Pascal Siakam, and Joel Embiid.
So you also went with the traditional lineup, with Brown being your 2 guard instead of cheating the system like Zach Griffith does.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I respect that. Thank you very much for that.
In a world, if you aren't to consider Jaylen Brown as a 2 guard, then I guess I'm probably taking like Karis LeVert.
No. Jaylen Brown's a 2 guard. He's absolutely 2 guard. Zach Griffith just decided to disrespect me on my podcast.
No.
That's just a load of crap. That's ridiculous. Come on. They can at least semi-realistic. I mean,
can we do this season starting lineup?
The season starting lineup?
Yeah, this season. Can we do that?
Go ahead. Give it to me, I guess.
All right.
Give it to me.
All right. You're not going to like it, but
go ahead. Come on. Go ahead. Okay.
Kemba Walker.
Okay. Fair.
Ben Simmons. I'm cheating the system again.
Yeah, clearly. Ben Simmons
I'm putting you. No, you're on mute. Look, all I'm saying is, okay. When it comes to this lineup, come on, Griffin.
What's wrong with my healthy lineup?
You're come on, you're cheating.
You can sneak Tatum at shooting guard.
Come on, he's small forward and power forward combination. It's a load of crap. Look, the lineup, if it's traditional setting, I will have to lean towards this lineup right here with Embiid at the center position, with power forward as Pascal Siakam, with small forward as Kevin Durant, with shooting guard as Jaylen Brown. And I would personally, this is the thing, this is the key. I want to make this clear.
There we go.
If I'm just going to take, if we're just looking at picking 5 guys on the street, if that's all we're doing, just 5 guys on the street, then I'm taking Kyrie Irving as my point guard. I'm taking Kyrie Irving as my point guard. I'm not thinking of it from the perspective of the chemistry, locker room. I'm taking the talent. That's all I'm saying there. And because to me that's got to be it. That's got to be your lineup. But boys, this was terrific.
Ben Simmons.
It is what I got to give Kyrie Irving is respect. The man's been clutch. So what can I say? But boys, it's been real, man. It's been real. It's been a great pod. A pleasure having you guys on. And the other thing that I want to keep in mind for for the subscribers of the Running Hook Network. We have a lot coming up, right? We have Justin Powell doing a quick little pod with Alex Burr. Check that out. It's about IUPUI women's basketball. We're diving into that a little bit. We got Zach Griffith and his ugly self doing podcasts with movies. Go ahead and check that out. There's plenty of content coming up there. We have a lot of things in the works. And you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss what the Running Hook Podcast Network has to offer. And so, keep your eyes on what's going on. I will have a couple more division pods. I'll have the Southwest Division with Alex Burr and JD Hall coming up. So please check that out. And then we are in a to-be-determined stage after the division. We have lots that we're thinking about. If you have any suggestions of what you think would be good for the LynnSanity podcast, please let me know. I'm open to it. And I would love to hear your guys' perspectives on where that goes next. So I hope you guys had a great time listening. I appreciate my guests. And, take it easy. Trying to think of how you end this recording.